Nike reported their first quarter 2024 results. This print was highly anticipated by the street as shares are down over 24% year to date. We'll jump into these results, take a look at it, the revenues, the cost of sales, margins, and all importantly, take a look at Greater China and how the sales broke down on a divisional basis. Lastly, we'll come over here and take a look at the technical chart over at Nike. This one has come down to a trend line that has been holding for over a decade, and we'll see if that can continue. Or is the megatrend in Nike finally set to break? As always, if you are new to the channel and find this type of content valuable, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button below. We are on the road to hit 600 subscribers and your support would mean a lot. Nike shares in the after hours, I see them popping up roughly 1.2%, close to $91 per share. This one's yield has come up close to 1.5% as the shares have continued to slide all year long. First quarter revenues coming in at $12.9 billion. That was up just 2% year over year. Estimates were closer to the $13 billion, so roughly in line to Wall Street expectations. On the EPS side, expectations were at 76 cents per share. Nike's diluted EPS came in at 94 cents per share. That was up 1% year over year. So they did beat quite well on that bottom line. Top line sales coming in line with Wall Street expectations. Nike direct revenues came in at $5.4 billion. That was 6% growth. They did see flat sales on that year over year side on their wholesale business. That came in at $7 billion. Now, Nike's gross margins did decrease 10 basis points down to 44.2%. That was driven primarily by higher product costs and unfavorable changes in Forex rates. Their selling and general administrative expenses also increased 5%. We'll take a look at that on the income statement. Now, Nike does return a ton of cash to shareholders, primarily in the form of dividends and share repurchases. Their dividend is up 9% from the previous year. They also do have an $18 billion share repurchase program, I think through 2026. And in this most recent quarter, they repurchased close to $1.1 billion. So far, they've completed $6 billion out of that $18 billion share buyback. Taking a look at the statement of income, we see those revenues were up 2%, close to $12.9 billion. We see cost of sales rising just in line with that, also up 2%, close to $7.2 billion. And so our gross profit remained roughly flat on a year over year basis, and gross margins also coming in flat. So I think this quarter came in better than expected. I think the expectations were quite low for this quarter, considering Nike gave sandbagged guidance for this Q1. Now, their demand creation expense, this is marketing and advertising over at Nike, that was up 13% year over year, close to $1.1 billion. And so Nike had to spend quite a bit more on marketing and advertising to generate just 2% growth on that top line. Their total SG&A came in at $4.1 billion. That was a larger portion of their revenues compared to a year ago. So overall, it seemed like a tough quarter over at Nike. They had to spend quite a bit more in order to generate just marginal growth on that top line. We come down, take a look at their EBITDA. That was down 10% year over year, down from $1.8 billion down to $1.6 billion in this most recent quarter. Net income coming in flat at close to $1.45 billion. So from a bottom line, this company is still generating a ton of cash. They generated $1.4 billion of net income and bought back roughly $1.1 billion of shares in this most recent quarter. We see EPS coming in at 94 cents per share. That was good for 1% growth on that year over year side. Turning over to the balance sheet at Nike, cash and equivalents sitting at roughly $6.2 billion. That was down 15% year over year. Their short-term investments also down year over year. Inventories is the big number to focus on when looking at the balance sheet for Nike. That was down 10% year over year. Certainly, I think close to $9.6 billion worth of inventory is what they had last year, and that seems a bit too high. And so Nike probably doing more promotional and markdowns to kind of move this inventory and sell through it, which ultimately does hurt margins in the short term. But I think reducing this inventory is the smarter thing to do for Nike. Total current assets were down 16% year over year, down to $24.2 billion. Now, on their liability side, they did wipe out their current portion of long-term debt at roughly $500 million. They also paid off some other liabilities. Total current liabilities were down roughly 23%, down to $8.5 billion. And so from an asset to liability basis, Nike is looking very strong, nothing to worry about here. They do have a lot of cash still on the balance sheet. They have some short-term investments, and they do have these inventories that, those are the Nike shoes and apparel kind of sitting in the warehouse that they'll be moving through in subsequent quarters. Taking a look at Nike's sales from a geography perspective, you see in North America, sales were down 2% at $5.4 billion. They did see strong growth in Europe and the Middle East. You see on footwear in Europe, they saw 12% growth year over year. They also saw total 8% growth over at Europe. Now, in China, which is a very important market for Nike, they saw growth at 5% year over year in China. So I think investors digesting this number coming in better than feared, in my opinion, is one of the reasons why the stock is popping in the after hours, as I think fears over at China were greater, and perhaps the street was expecting Nike to post flat or declining sales over in China. And so Nike growing just even modestly in China should be comforting for investors. Moving on to the technicals, this is a 10-year chart over at Nike, and you see I've drawn out this green trend line, and each candle on this chart represents about a week of trading. And so you see there's only a handful of weeks where Nike has actually traded underneath this trend line. Now, more recently, it has come and tested this trend line. You see it actually did post a candle just underneath that, but now I see shares rebounding close to $91.26. So it seems like it's holding this level of support. Now, Nike certainly, in my opinion, is one of those companies that is a long-term buy and hold. They have raised their dividend for 21 straight years. They are a proven company. And so what LeBron James is to the Lakers, Nike is to the apparel industry. And so certainly, I think you can absolutely come in here and buy shares of Nike close to $89, $90. I think really anything under $100 for Nike, if you're looking to accumulate this over the long term, can absolutely be bought. I think certainly if you're looking for short-term returns, if you're looking for quick in and out plays, yeah, Nike might not be the stock for that. They certainly won't see 2x or 3x capital appreciation over the next 5 years, I think, but you will see in that steady dividend increases. You'll see those dividends come in. You'll see also modest capital appreciation over at Nike. Certainly they are able to execute as they have in the past. They are always the first to sign the largest athletes in the world. In my opinion, Nike is one of those investments that you can buy and sleep easy knowing that you hold shares in Nike. Now, in terms of a level of resistance, if you are looking to pick up shares at this point, I see $100, close to $105 as being the first level of resistance. It has gone rejected at this level before, and it has acted as support more recently. And so I think if Nike does make its way back up over $90 a share, I think it'll see resistance close to this $105 per share. But again, if you're looking to hold Nike for the long term, I think this can be a great spot to possibly accumulate shares of Nike. Really anything under $100, even under $90, in my opinion, it would be a great long-term buy and hold. That was Nike for you guys. Shares now I see are up close to 2%. Let me know what you guys think of this one in the comments below. Not much to say about Nike, just one of those proven business models that really can always be counted on to deliver. They did post a surprising beat on that bottom line, and so shares are reacting nicely. Let me know your thoughts on Nike in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.